God can help you.
Tell me, why didn't God help my innocent friend who died for no reason while the guilty roamed free? About the countless wars declared in his name? About the racist, sexist, phobia soup we've all been drowning in because of him? I'm talking about all organized religion, exclusive groups created to manage control. Dealer, getting people hooked on the drug of hope. His followers, nothing but addicts who want their hit of to keep their dopamine of ignorance. Addicts, afraid to believe the truth, that there's no order, there's no power, that all religions are just metastasizing mind worms meant to divide us so it's easier to rule us by the charlatans that want to run us.
Mr. Robot, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robots. Quite an interesting show, actually. Quite an interesting show. It's a show that's very heavily on nihilism and just touching the meaning of life in general. I don't know. For me, whenever I had that trance the first time, okay, I was a different person. This show came out like 2015, if I'm not wrong. So I was a different person then. I was an angsty, depressed, very angry teenager. So that kind of made a lot of sense. But in retrospect, I probably she'll provide the theological background for it, but that sounds just like some angsty teenager going through it, as most people would see, and it's just thrown way out of context. But it's a good show. It's a good show.
I have no idea what show that is.
That's it's an Egyptian.
My heart goes out to him because I know he represents a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there are many people who their lack of belief in God is based on the concept of suffering, that they don't understand why, if God is there, then why would he allow some things to happen?
Does suffering have meaning though?
Suffering does have meaning. And the funny thing is that suffering is an integral part of Christianity, but we don't teach it. Christ himself is referred to as a suffering servant. Like, suffering is part of our human existence. Mm-hmm. Why? Because we live in a broken world. Mm-hmm. So suffering will always be part of our existence because the world is broken. Yeah. So how I'd start tackling this, and I understand because even for me, there are days where I've gone through hard situations. You pray for someone and then, they still die. Not that anybody will live forever, but it's true. It's true. There are moments where I've reached and I'm like, wow, okay, God, I need to understand how you are still loving, how you're still kind, how you're still just, even in the mess of society. Mm. And if there's one thing I've learned over time is that God is not reactive. Human beings always want God to come through when you're the victim in the situation.
Isn't that when he's supposed to come through?
That's what when he's supposed to come
when through. I'm the victim banner, when
there's
I'm being...
no justice if he comes through in justice when you want him to come in justice. Here's the thing I've learned about God. Let me explain it. Here's the thing I've learned about God is that God is loving, God is righteous, and God is just. As human beings, we can't embody those three things at the same time. There'll be a time where we'll be righteous, but there's no love. There's a time where we're all for justice, there's no righteousness. Mm. God has to always be the three of those things at the same time. That means the amount of grace that God extends to a murderer is the same grace he extends to you. Because otherwise, if he changes the rules for you, then there are other times where he will victimize you because he's changed the rules for someone else. Now, if we look at a situation in itself, we might think that God is not just. But do you realize that God is writing your story and my story and another 7 billion people's stories, and all of them somehow need to reflect that he's loving, he's righteous, and he's just.
You should be good at it.
We can't sit back and decide that this is what justice looks like, because we don't know. There's a movie called The Shark, which is controversial in many ways because they portray God as a woman in some aspects.
And then a grande fans high.
I don't think that was the point of the movie. The point of the movie was to show the complexity of situations that we can't play God, because we just see a part of the situation. Right now, you could decide, somebody kills this person, they deserve to be killed. You don't know their story. You don't know that maybe they were molested as a kid. You don't know that maybe they watched somebody go through something. You don't know the things that got them to where they are, the decisions that they have to make every day. So God is seeing this person and is just like, there's good somewhere in this guy. And
But
so
doesn't the collective good and the collective consequences that society faces because of this murderer not take into account the actions that God should take? Why are you focusing on the individual past, and if there's good in him, well, the rest of the people around the victim get to suffer without any retribution or any.
This is actually what I was talking about earlier in the Old Testament. The time that the Israelites were in bondage in Egypt for 400 years. Do you know why it was 400 years? God was giving the nations that they were coming to destroy time to repent. He was concerned about them enough to give them grace, but at some point he gets to a place where he's just like, guys are not changing. I need to be just now. I need to come in and bring sanity, because I've given them a chance to change their minds and they have not. And that's the thing about God that we'll never understand, that the same way he loves you is the same way he loves your enemy. And so the grace he extends to you is the same grace he extends to the other person. And so sometimes it's hard when you're the victim in this situation. And that's why he says, my grace is sufficient for you. That God is not seated in heaven watching you suffer and is just like, time is not yet. He actually is actually part of that. He's grieving with you. He's giving you grace. He's sending you help. He doesn't allow you to suffer in those spaces by yourself. But at the end of it, justice will happen, just not the way you want it or how you want it, because God's intention is not for you alone to be saved. It's for everybody to be saved. Every living soul that has his breath matters to him.
So if I was to present God with the trolley problem, what do you think the answer will be? The trolley problem is where there's a train that's coming and you have control over the lever that changes the track. On one track, there's one person trying to do the track, and on the other track is four people. With the lever, you can change whichever track the train goes on. So, but at the end of the day, one of those two groups, one of the group has to die. What do you think God's answer to that question would be?
It was what happened with Christ. That the one man had to die for the sins of the many.
Okay.
Yeah.